Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Chapter 19. A Concert, a Catastrophe, and a Confession.
Marilla, can I go over to see Diana just for a minute? Asked Anne, running breathlessly down from the east gable one February evening. I don't see what you want to be traipsing about after dark for, said Marilla shortly. You and Diana walked home from school together and then stood down there in the snow for half an hour more, your tongues going the whole blessed time. Clickety-clack. So I don't think you are very badly off to see her again. But she wants to see me, pleaded Anne. She has something very important to tell me. How do you know she has? Because she just signaled to me from her window. We have arranged a way to signal with our candles and cardboard. We set the candle on the windowsill and make flashes by passing the cardboard back and forth. So many flashes mean a certain thing. It was my idea, Marilla. I'll warrant you it was, said Marilla emphatically. And the next thing, you will be setting fire to the curtains with your signaling nonsense. Oh, we are very careful, Marilla, and it's so interesting. 2 flashes mean, are you there? 3 means yes, and 4, no. 5 means, come over as soon as possible because I have something important to reveal. Diana had just signaled 5 flashes, and I'm really suffering to know what it is. Well, you needn't suffer any longer, said Marilla sarcastically. You can go, but you are to be back here in just 10 minutes. Remember that. Anne did remember it and was back in the stipulated time, although probably no mortal will ever know just what it cost her to confine the discussion of Diana's important communication within the limits of 10 minutes, but at least she had made good use of them. Oh, Marilla, what do you think? You know tomorrow is Diana's birthday. Well, her mother told her she could ask me to go home with her from school and stay all night with her. And her cousins are coming over from Newbridge in a big pong sleigh to go to the debating club concert at the hall tomorrow night. And they are going to take Diana and me to the concert. If you will let me go, that is. You will, won't you, Marilla? Oh, I feel so excited. You can calm down then, because you are not going. You're better at home in your own bed, and as for that club concert, it's all nonsense, and the little girls should not be allowed to go out to such places at all. I'm sure the debating club is a most respectable affair, pleaded Anne. I'm not saying it isn't, but you are not going to begin getting about to concert and staying out all hours of the night. Pretty doings for children. I'm surprised at Mrs. Barry's letting Diana go. But it's such a very special occasion, moaned Anne on the verge of tears. Diana has only one birthday in a year. It isn't as if birthdays were common things. Marilla, Prissy Andrew is going to recite Curfew Must Not Ring Tonight. That is such a good moral piece, Marilla. I'm sure it would do me lots of good to hear it. And the choir are going to sing 4 lovely pathetic songs that are pretty near as good as hymns. And oh, Marilla, the minister is going to take part. Yes, indeed, he is. He's going to give an address that will be just about the same thing as a sermon. Please, mayn't I go, Marilla? You heard what I said, Anne, don't you? Didn't you? Take off your boots now and go to bed. It's past 8. There's just one more thing, Marilla, said Anne, with the air of producing the last shot in her locker. Mrs. Barry told Diana that we might sleep in the spare room bed. Think of the honor of your little Anne being put in the spare room bed. It's an honor you will have to get along without. Go to bed, Anne, and don't let me hear another word out of you. When Anne, with the tears rolling over her cheeks, had gone sorrowfully upstairs, Matthew, who had been apparently sound asleep on the lounge during the whole dialogue, opened his eyes and said decidedly, "Well, now, Marilla, I think you ought to let Anne go." "I don't then," retorted Marilla. "Who's bringing this child up, Matthew, you or me?" "Well, now, you," admitted Matthew. "Don't infer, then. Don't interfere, then." "Well, now, I ain't interfering. I ain't interfering to have your own opinion, and my opinion is that you ought to let Anne go." "You'd think I ought to let Anne go to the moon if she took the notion, I've no doubt," was Marilla's amiable rejoinder. "I might have let her spend the night with Dinah, if that was all, but I don't approve of this concert plan. She'd go there and catch cold like as not, and have her head filled up with nonsense and excitement. It would unsettle her for a week. I understand the child's disposition, and what's good for it better than you, Matthew." "I think you ought to let Anne go," repeated Matthew firmly. Argument was not his strong point, but holding fast to his opinion certainly was. Marilla gave a gasp of helplessness and took refuge in silence. The next morning, when Anne was washing the breakfast dishes in the pantry, Matthew paused on his way out to the barn to say to Marilla again, "I think you ought to let Anne go, Marilla." For a moment, Marilla looked at things not lawful to be uttered. Then she yielded to the inevitable and said tartly, "Very well, she can go, since nothing else will please you." Anne flew out of the pantry, dripping dishcloth in hand. "Oh, Marilla, Marilla, say those blessed words again." "I guess once is enough to say them. This is Matthew's doings, and I wash my hands of it. If you catch pneumonia sleeping in a strange bed or coming out of the hot hole in the middle of the night, don't blame me, blame Matthew. And Charlie, you're dripping grease water all over the floor. I never saw such a careless child." "Oh, I know I'm a great trial to you, Marilla," said Anne repentantly. "I make so many mistakes, but then just think of all the mistakes I don't make, although I might. I'll get some sand and scrub up the spots before I go to school. Oh, Marilla, my heart was just set on going to the concert. I never was to a concert in my life, and when the other girls talk about them in school, I feel so out of it. You didn't know just how I felt about it, but you see, Matthew did. Matthew understands me, and it's so nice to be understood, Marilla." Anne was too excited to do herself justice as to lessons that morning in school. Gilbert Blythe spelled her down in class and left her clear out of sight in mental arithmetic. Anne's consequent humiliation was less than it might have been. However, in view of the concert and the spare room bed, she and Diana talked so constantly about it all day that, with a stricter teacher than Mr. Phillips, dire disgrace must inevitably have been their portion, and felt that she could not have borne it if she had not been going to the concert, for nothing else was discussed that day in school. The Ebony Debating Club, which met fortnightly all winter, had had several smaller free entertainments, but this was to be a big affair. Admission 10 cents in aid of the library. The Avonlea young people had been practicing for weeks, and all the scholars were especially interested in it by reason of all the brothers and sisters who were going to take part. Everybody in school over 9 years of age expected to go, except Carrie Sloan, whose father shared Mariola's opinions about small girls going out to night concerts. Carrie Sloan cried into her grandma all the afternoon and felt that life was not worth living. For Anne, the real excitement began with the dismissal of school and this decreased therefrom in crescendo until it reached to a crash of positive ecstasy in the concert itself. They had a perfectly elegant tea, and then came the delicious occupation of dressing in Diana's little room upstairs. Diana did Anne's front hair in the new pompadour style, and Anne tied Diana's bows with the special neck she possessed. And they experimented with at least half a dozen different ways of arranging their back hair. At last they were ready, cheeks scarlet and eyes glowing with excitement. True, Anne could not help a little pang when she contrasted her plain black tam and shameless tight-sleeved homemade gray cloth coat with Diana's jaunty fur cap and smart little jacket. But she remembered in time that she had an imagination and could use it. Then Diana's cousins, the Murrays from Newbridge, came. They all crowded into the big pung sleigh among straw and furry robes. Anne revealed in the drive to the hall, slipping along of the satin-smooth roads with the snow crisping under the runners. There was a magnificent sunset, and the snowy hills and deep blue water of the St. Lawrence Gulf seemed to rim in the splendor like a huge bowl of pearl and sapphire brimmed with wine and fire. Tinkles of sleigh bells and distant laughter that seemed like the mirth of wood elves came from every quarter. "Oh, Diana!" breathed Anne, squeezing Diana's mittened hand under the fur robe. "Isn't it all like a beautiful dream? Do I really look the same as usual? I feel so different that it seems to me it must show in my looks." "You look awfully nice," said Diana, who, having just received a compliment from one of her cousins, felt that she ought to pass it on. "You've got the loveliest color."